last week, we know that the market was attracted to a fair value, which that's where it already tapped into just a little bit, right? And now all we're looking for is for some bearish signs on the lower time frame. And how are we going to get that? We're basically going to get that by changes of character towards the downside. Hey, what's good, everybody? This is your man, Prof Zones, and Prof is not for professor, but for profits. Oh, yeah. Okay, guys. As you see and as you saw, right? So I'm just going to give you a little quick recap because, guys, on the GroundUp breakdown season 1, I've only been focusing on AudUsd, right? And now, as I told you guys, that I am the co-host of Monday Market Mapping. And what I do there, I delve a little deeper into AudUsd. So when you watch GroundUp breakdown and follow an AudUsd, and then you go to Monday Market Mapping on Monday, which the link is below. So make sure you do sign up for that. It is free, guys. So when you go to Monday Market Mapping, I go a little deeper into AudUsd. I also analyze USD CAD and gold. And guys, in the future, there will be indices or indices, however you want to pronounce it. And yeah, a couple of more pairs, right? Or metals. So yeah, with that said, guys, I hope you followed along, right? Because basically what we were talking about on last week's episode 9, basically, was that the price needed to tap into 50% of this fair value. Right? Okay, well, the fair value is like this. 50% of this fair value, right? And where's the 50% of that fair value? It's right here. And as I said, that the price tapped into the fair value a little bit when it tapped into this area right here, right? So we were looking for bearish signs to the downside after the market tapped into this 50%, right? And as you can see, guys, that happened quite beautifully. As you can look into your hourly time frame. Sorry about that. There we go. As you look into your hourly time frame, that happened quite beautifully because as you can see, the market fully tapped into it, pushed to the downside, failed to break this high, and then pushed to the downside to break this low. So what is that? Now we know that this is liquidity and there should be a small fair value gap up here on the lower time frames or an order block. And then we know we can push in to sweep that buy side liquidity and then we can officially sell it, targeting this liquidity point right here as your first target. And of course, your second target would be this liquidity point. And as you can see, guys, everything happened the way it was supposed to happen. Now, let me go into a smaller time frame for those that are confused a bit. As you can see, as I said, that as soon as this liquidity was created, above this liquidity, there was supposed to be a fair value or an order block. And as you can see, this right here is our order block, because that is technically the last bullish candle before this low was violated. And that is the last bullish candle that created the change of character. And as you know, those are the order blocks that hold. Now, guys, with that said, on Monday Market Mapping, I was looking at this low right here, right? This order block right here for buys, right? And I knew that this fair value right there, and if that fair value was violated, then my bias would be even more to the downside now. So meaning this fair value gap here was a make or break. So if it held, and of course, you know how we see that by simple market structure and lower time frame and the candlesticks. And if you don't know that, just tap into my mentorship or just keep watching my free videos on YouTube, right? So that fair value right there, if it held, then this was going to serve as liquidity, right? Sell side liquidity. Because if it held, it was going to tap and come back within the range in a specific candlestick format. right? And then that would allow us to buy it all the way to this liquidity right here. But since that fair value didn't hold and it violated and then price closed below it, then I knew that, okay, we are looking for sells, meaning Tuesday we're looking for sells. And sells are very simple to spot because, as you know, our 15-minute time frame is our second best. Our 5-minute is for those that are a little bit more advanced. So on our 15-minute time frame, as you can see, we left a beautiful Asian range fair value gap and an order block, right? A beautiful one. So with that said, price tapped into it, and ever since it tapped into it, it went all the way down. Right? But where was the target for that? Where was the target for that? As you know, guys, when we are taking a trade from a fair value, we are targeting liquidity, right? When we're taking a trade from liquidity, we are targeting a fair value. So simply said, the target was right here. The target was right here, right? And we knew that if that is violated below this, there is what? There is this fair value gap right here. And guess what happened? The market tapped into that fair value gap and created an Asian range change of character. By what? By violating this high. By violating this high. We knew that there's a change of character. So all we were looking for was buys. And it gave us two opportunities to buy around here and to buy around here. And where was our target since we were taking the trade based off of this fair value gap right here? Where's our target? Our target is in the next liquidity. Where is it? Since we're on an uptrend, the next liquidity is right here. So basically that was it, guys. That was it for the week, which was a very, very, very beautiful setup. So yes, guys, tune in to Monday Market Mapping on Mondays. Do subscribe. The Telegram link is below. It is free, just like how my GroundUp breakdowns are also free. So yeah, guys, with that said, as you can see, the market just pierced through that fair value gap. And on the Monday Market Mapping, I did say that when the when the market structure shifts to the upside, right? So it did react off our 50, beautiful. But then over here, it shifted off this fair value gap on the daily, as you can see. This is where we got our change of character to the upside. And then that's when I knew that this was just a retracement. So on Monday Market Mapping, I did say that these bears are just a retracement. So the market is still bullish, and bullish to where? I already said that we're going to be targeting this liquidity here and ultimately this one here, right? And as you can see, that happened very much beautifully, guys, very beautifully. Now, with that said, let us get into this week's analysis, right? So let me clear this. Let me clear all of this right here. Let us get into this week's analysis. So now, I want us to start into the weekly, seeing that the higher time frames have been bearish, right? Still are bearish overall. So I just want you to have a little perspective, right, of what might happen. So on the weekly, keep in mind that we still have this fair value gap right here. This is the last fair value gap that we have, right? So if this liquidity is violated heading into this week, then we already know where we are going. We are heading here to tap into this fair value gap, right? And how will we know that? Through changes of character, right? And breaks of structure. So with that said, if this liquidity here holds, we will see that through changes of character, right? Leading into a market structure shift. So with that said, guys, we know that that zone right there is very important. And also this liquidity right here, which is our buy side liquidity, right? Which is our buy side liquidity right here is very important, right? So that's our weekly buy side liquidity. Let me just do this. Sorry about that. That's our weekly buy side liquidity. Boom. All right. So we know that's our weekly buy side liquidity, right? And of course, our sell side liquidity for the week is right here. Okay. So we have now a weekly bias in terms of where the market can be drawn to. So we know it can be drawn to this buy side liquidity there. And once it's there, we look for changes of character or breaks of structure, right? So breaks of structure will lead us into this fair value gap right here. Let me mark it. Sorry for the guys that do not know. So breaks of structure will lead us to this fair value gap right here, and this fair value gap is, of course, our weekly fair value gap. And that is the last one, guys. That is the last one, because if that fair value gap is violated, then I guess we are shifting structure to the upside, right? On the weekly time frame. But so yeah, let's go into the daily. Let's go into the daily now and see. So as you can see, we've already swept liquidity right here. So our low time frame is going to tell us if the bears want to get in from here, right, and target this fair value gap right here, this daily fair value gap right here, because that can easily happen where the market moves from the liquidity that we're at right now into this daily fair value gap. As you know, it's fair value to liquidity, liquidity to fair value, right? So with that said, there we go. So this is how everything is looking right now, right, on the daily. So we know that if the lower time frames actually give us a lovely change of characters on the lower time frames and it's starting to break all the way to the downside, we know that we're heading into this fair value gap right here, right, before we can start looking for any buys, any other further buys. And of course, if it's violated, if this fair value gap is violated, as in it's violated like this, then we know that the market is now heading for this liquidity, right? So we'll just tag along as the market keeps moving all the way down. So yeah, guys, now let us move into the H4 time frame to have a little bit more of an HD view of what is happening. As you can see, beautiful sweep on liquidity right there, beautiful sweep on liquidity. So yeah, with that said, we still have an H4 fair value gap within this daily fair value gap. So other than refining it, we will just draw the 50% of the equilibrium, so to say, of this daily fair value gap, because it should lead us into the H4 fair value gap. Boom. And as you can see, it does lead us into the H4 fair value gap. So that is still very much beautiful. So yeah, guys, with that said, so the same analysis still holds. And let us just mark this liquidity right here, because this liquidity is very much important as well, because we know that this is a potential target if that daily fair value gap is violated, right? There we go. Now let's move into the hourly time frame. So now the hourly time frame is where things get a little bit tricky. Why? Simply because we have a beautiful supply zone right here, a beautiful supply zone which was led by accumulation, right? Which was led by accumulation, right? So that's a beautiful supply zone. And right above that supply zone, what do we have? A beautiful fair value gap. So now what we will need to look for is the market might do two things. So if the bears want to take control, the market might react off of this fair value gap, right? Or this supply zone right here, and then push all the way up, but then do not violate this high. So if that happens, and then we start to see fair value gaps created here, then we know that the market is going to sell through this fair value gaps that are created here, and then push all the way down to break this supply zone, making it a breaker, react off of it, and then push all the way down into this fair value gap, right? So that is a possibility if the bears take charge. So it might just react off of here, push all the way up, and then create some changes of character on the lower time frame, just so that it can sell into this fair value gap, right? Because this will be liquidity that is generated right here, trendline liquidity, and then that could be all swept into this fair value gap before the market starts to push up again, right? So if the bears are fully taking charge, then we already know that what's going to happen to this fair value gap. It will be violated throughout this week. So yeah, guys, and another thing that of course could happen is the market could easily push all the way up again to sweep deeper into that liquidity, and then maybe create a low on its way up. Let's say it does this, create a low on its way up, sweep this high, come back in the range, but sweep this low, and then come back to whatever fair value gap is left here, and then officially sell into this fair value gap here or this supply zone. So that is basically what we'll be looking at through Monday and Tuesday, is what structure is going to be created over here, right? So yeah, guys, that's what we're going to be looking for through Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And yeah, for a little bit more detailed perspective, where I maybe delve a little bit more into fundamentals and what's happening on that side, it's going to be on Monday market mapping. So yeah, guys, with that said, I do not want to go too deep into it in terms of the M15 time frame, because what's happening on the M15 time frame can be also explained just like how we did on the H1 time frame. So yeah, guys, with that said, I hope you had a very great NFP week. Everything went well for us in terms of NFP week, in terms of direction and analysis. So yeah, guys, let's just have another profitable week. And as you know, let's plan the trade and trade the plan. With that said, this is your man, Prof Zones. Dango.